Question number 54 of the PhilNITS FE morning portion of the exam. In this question, we are being asked, a factory manufactures the three products that are shown in the table below. Which of the following is the maximum possible profit in dollars? Here, there is an upper limit to the monthly demand volume for each product. Also, the factory can only use up to $200 per month for the manufacturing process and cannot manufacture more than one product in parallel. Okay, again, we're looking for the maximum possible profit in dollars, and we are only given up to 200 hours per month for the manufacturing process. And at the same time, the product that we are manufacturing, the product has to go in a series. What that means is we manufacture one product and then the next. They don't go in parallel. We can't manufacture them at the same time. Okay, I chose to start with product Y because I thought that if we are going for the maximum number of profit, then it looks like product Y is the way to go. Because if the maximum for product X is 1,000 units and we can only get $18 per unit, then it looks like it's not going to give us the highest profit. If we go with C, the maximum is only 500, even though we profit per unit at $30. So it seemed to me that Y was the logical product to go. And here we have the conversion of hours to minutes, because we need to know whether we are using up all the minutes that have been allotted us, except that initially the unit was in hours. So we need to change this to minutes so that we can have a common time that uses the same unit. And I chose minutes. And therefore, to know how many minutes we get from 200 hours, we have to think about how many minutes do we have per hour. And that's how we get 200 hours times 60 minutes. And we know that per hour we have 60 minutes, and that's why it's written in this way. And in the end, we get 12,000 minutes. Okay? And I know there are people who would say you can remove this in this way. That's why we end up with minutes here. Okay, so we got 12,000 minutes. The next thing we need to do is to know how much money can we make if we are going for the maximum number of units allotted for product Y. And to do that, we multiply 25 and 900. And for instance, we have something like this, 900 times 25. And if you remember, 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 5 0 again, 0 times, in this case, 5 times 9 is 45. Now the next number, 2, we need to add a 0 here because it's the next number. But 2 times 0 is 0 still, 2 times 0 is 0 still, 9 times 2 is 18. If we add them up, what we get is 22,500. Alright? So, if that's the amount of money that we can profit, that we can make, we need to know next how much time have we used up. And what we can find is that per unit we need to spend 10 minutes. So that's simply the maximum 900 times 10, which is why we get 9,000. and that's why I have 9,000 here. And we subtract 9,000 from 12,000, and the remaining amount of time that we have left is 3,000. The next thing we need to know is whether we can use any of the other products, like for example product X, where if we're going for the maximum 1,000 units, we can multiply the amount of time per unit with the total number of maximum units that we can manufacture. So that's why 6 times 1,000 is here, and we're using up 6,000 minutes. And if we want to know how much money we can make, 18 times 1,000, and we get 18,000 as the profit if we're manufacturing the whole thing. But again, we only have 3,000 minutes here, so we need to cut this in half. That's why instead of the full 18,000, we only get half of that as our profit. And if we add that to 22,500, which is what we got a while ago, we end up with letter C, which says the maximum amount of money that we can make is 31,500. I put a question mark here because I need to know if there's another higher amount that we can get, and we need to know whether it's in any of the choices. Now the next thing I did was to check whether we can make use of product Z, because product Z per unit gives us the most profit, 30 US dollars, but the maximum is only 500. Still, we need to know whether we can make use of product Z to earn the maximum amount of money. So what we can do is find out how many minutes it will take us to manufacture the entire thing, and that's why we have 500 times 15 here. And again, 0 is here, so we put 0 here as well. 5 times 0, 5 times 0, right? 5 times 25 times 5 is 25. Now the next one is 1 here, and because it's the next one, we have to put 0 here. Then 1 times 0, 0, 1 times 0, 0. 1 times 5 is 5. If we add them up, we put 5 here, and 5 plus 2 is 7. That's why we have 7,500 as the amount of time we'll be using up before manufacturing the whole thing. Okay? Now, the next thing that we need to know is how much money can we make. That would be 30 times 500, because per unit we're making 30 profit. 500 times 30 gives us $15,000. And here what I have is, well, actually 7,500 minutes and $15,000. The $15,000 doesn't go higher than the 22,500 that we had a while ago when we did the other product Y. So we'll use product Y because it seems to give us the highest profit, and the remaining we'll use product C. So remember that if we're going with the other product Y, the remaining amount of time that we'll get is 3,000. And we need to know how many units can we make with 3,000 for product C. And to do that, if we know that per unit of product C, it takes us 15 minutes, then we need to divide 3,000 by 15. And if you remember your long division, because again, in the test, no calculators are allowed, that would be something like this. 3 is too small for 15. We need to see if there's another digit, and there is, and it becomes 30. How many 15s are there in 30? Only 2. And the remaining digits here are 0 already, so we put them here in this way. So that would be 200 units. We can manufacture 200 units of product C. And next, we need to know how much money we can make. And to do that, if the maximum number of units 200 and per unit we earn $30, that would be $6,000. And that's why we have 6,000 here, and we add that to product Y, which is gonna give us let's see, 22,500, and the amount of money that we can make in total is 28,500. But 28,500 is not in any of the choices, so this is incorrect. The next thing that we can do is to try out another possibility. And again, the maximum amount of time that we have is 12,000 minutes. Here in this case, we can try out going for the maximum amount of products that we can make with product C. And again, the amount of money that we can make for product C is 15,000. And as for the amount of time that it will consume, it's 7,500, given the math that we did previously. Okay? Again, it's 500 times 15. We need to multiply these two. Maximum is 500 units, and per unit it's 15 minutes. So how many minutes are we gonna get in the end after manufacturing product C? We'll have 4,500 minutes. And then we can see if we can use product Y, but instead of using up the maximum amount of product Ys that we can manufacture, we'll just see if we can manufacture using the remaining 4,500 minutes that we get. And so how many units can we make from 4,500 minutes? And here it says that per unit it's going to take us 10 minutes. So that's why we have 4,500 divided by 10, which means it's going to be 450 units that we can manufacture. And per unit, we make a profit of $25. So that's why we have 450 times 25. Now do we do the computation? 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. The 5 is put here. The 2 goes here as a carryover. And then 5 times 4 is 20 plus the carryover 22. That makes it 22. I mean, that's why we have 2250 here. Now the next number 2 is the next number. So that's why there's a blank here, or you can put a 0 here. It's okay. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. So we put a 0 here and put the 1 as a carryover. Then 2 times 4 plus 1 gives us 9. That's why there's a 9 here. If we add them up, put a 0 here, 5 plus 0, 5, 2 plus 0 is 2, 2 plus 9 is 11. So that's $11,250. And if we add this with the one that we got previously, the 15,000 US dollars, because we are doing the maximum for product C, maximum amount of units that we can get for product C. We have 15 plus 11,250. Okay, that's why we have 26,250, which is actually choice A. But as we can see, this is not the highest amount of profit that we can make, because it looks like letter C is still the winner. Now, is there another possible answer aside from C? And what we find is that if we go with product X in this way, again, the 12,000 minutes is the amount of time that we have. If we go with product X, that would be 6 times 1,000, because the maximum amount of products that we can create for product X is 1,000. And per product, per unit, we need to consume 6 minutes, right? So that's why we have 6,000 here. And therefore, if our current time is 12,000 minutes, 12,000 minus 6,000 gives us 6,000 remaining minutes. And for the amount of money that we can make, that would be 18 times 1,000, which is why we have 18,000 US dollars for product X. But we still have 6,000 remaining minutes. How do we spend that? We can go with product Y. But this time, I think that we won't be able to manufacture all the products that we can make with product Y, the maximum. So we'll just need to manufacture the remaining, using the remaining time that we have. Okay, so if the remaining time is 6,000, we divide it by 10, because per unit we are consuming 10 minutes. How many units can we get from that? And that's why we have 6,000 divided by 10, and that's why we have 600 units here. Now the next thing we need to know is how much money can we make. Per unit is $25. Therefore, 600 times 25 gives us $15,000. And if we add that to the amount that we got for product X, we'll have 18,000 plus 15,000 equals 33,000. Okay? And also, if maybe you don't know how we got 15,000 here, I have here the equation, and I also did the long way. I didn't use any calculators for this one. 600 times 25, you have 0, 0, 5 times 0, 5 times 0 again, 0, 0. 5 times 6 is 30. And then this is the next digit. We put a blank here, a 0 here. 2 times 0 is 0. And then, let me see, 2 times 0 is 0. Alright. And then 6 times 2 is 12. That's why what we have next would be, if we add them up, how much money would it be? This would be, there would be this one here. We have 3 zeros. That's why there are 3 zeros here. And then 2 plus 2. Let me see if I'm getting it right. Okay, this is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. And then there's a 1. That's why we have 15,000 here. Okay. So just take note again that it's best that the digits are aligned. Otherwise, you might also get confused which is which, and that would cause a lot of the problems later on. Now, if we add them up, we got 33,000, 18 plus 15,000, which is done in this way. The three zeros are here, and then 8 plus 5 gives us 3 here, and then 1 here, and then 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, 33,000, which is actually letter D. And turns out the winner is not C, but letter D. And that should be the answer for this number.